The Creator leads me beside the still waters and restores my soul. For a long time, I could not explain to people the joy that I know, the joy that sustains me and brings me life and shows me, I guess, the world beyond what's seen. And for decades, I was able to live from that place, this like reflective place, kind of like this water right here, which is semi-still, where you can see things kind of clearly, right? Like the reflection of the trees in this water here. But the challenge is when you try to share, or at least my experience has been, when you try to share the source of your joy with people who can't find joy, it sometimes puts your own joy at risk. But sometimes you feel like it's worth it. Sometimes you see someone with some potential, or someone who has hit rock bottom and they don't want to go down any further, and so they're open to joy. And I've had some of those encounters. But then truthfully, more times than not, I've seen people choose to stay attached to the things that distract them from joy. Because the truth is, joy is all around us. Beauty is all around us. Abundance is all around us. It's the reality of life everywhere except for the disturbed human mind that is capable of infinite distortion, or near infinite distortion. I shouldn't say infinite distortion, because there is an end of distortion in the human mind, which is the grace that we sometimes call death. So if you're interested, I'm going to take you on a little bit of a journey of the human soul as told by Brother Creek here, or Sister Creek. So you can see this portion of the water that I'm looking at right now is relatively still. If you want to reflect, still waters are the place to do it. This is why the Creator says through his prophets, or her prophets, their prophets, that when led by the still waters, or led to the still waters, our soul is restored. And so in this semi-flow, in this semi-stillness of the still waters, because with the semi-flow it stays fresh but also reflective. But then as you move down Brother Creek, Sister Creek, Neighbor Creek, you see that the water starts to pick up. And as the water picks up, you start to see these ripples in the flow. And for the sake of this analogy, let's just say this flow is the energy that life emerges from. And so you see how there's ripples, right? And as you move through, you see that there's also little obstructions. But these obstructions aren't here to harm or disturb or anything like that. They're just part of nature, being nature. They're all natural, they're all beautiful, they're all miraculous in their place. And so you see these little disruptions, these branches, and these rocks, and this grass, and all of these things, and you see there's greater ripples, and the water's going downhill-ish, and so there's more rapidity. But you notice now that where there's more ripples, there's less capacity for reflection. So you see downstream, it was still maximum reflection, but moving slower. Then here, little obstructions, which are just another part of the creation that creates all these ripples, plus the speed or the rapidity that is occurring because of the flow going downhill. And so you see all these ripples, as I said, less reflection. But what you also notice is these little bubbles that start to appear. And these little bubbles appear because of the encounter with obstruction, and the speed and the flow. And so these little bubbles start to appear. Well, these little bubbles are us in the flow of life. All these little bubbles, these little souls, are finite representations of an infinite flow that just is. And we emerge for a moment as little bubbles. And as you can see, there's some of these bubbles that, because they're further into the stream, they're continuing to flow, and they're continuing to move with life, just flowing. And then there's some that aren't moving much. They're kind of stuck in this little area over here. And they're stuck because they're almost out of flow. They're pulled between the gravity, if you will, of the shore and the flow. And so they're kind of just spinning in place, moving a little bit here and there. But their only hope to get unstuck is they have to get enough, close enough to the edge of where the water is flowing that they get snatched up by another bubble and taken along. Did you see that happen? So some folks that are in flow will pass by those who are stuck and then grab them and take them back into flow. But there's some that will just remain in this area, not really flowing, until eventually they pop. And when they pop, we would call that death. But really, it's just aligning with the flow of life, the water, all that is. And now I want to show you something really interesting. So some of these bubbles over here collectivize, right? They're holding on to this grass here, this earth, and they won't let go. And because they won't let go, they don't even have the potential to get into flow. And some little bubbles like this one over here, because of the little circumstances, see what happened? It got caught up in its non-flow state and slowly but surely are going in the opposite direction of flow to safety, so to speak. And they get attracted to these little collective groups that hold on and don't let go and are completely out of flow. Well, that's a whole bunch of us, where we grab onto things. Maybe it's something that happened to us in the past. Maybe it's wants, maybe it's desires, maybe it's the earth, and maybe it's addiction of the negative kind. But we won't let go. And because we won't let go, life flows and passes us by. And sometimes, because of the same state, we pull other people who get too close to us into our stuckness. Like this little fella here, or this little fella here. And the saddest thing is that these ones that are holding on are telling us that they know what makes for safety, but they really don't know what makes for safety. They only know what makes for nothingness, for ignorance, for death. And bam, look at that. Is that you? Are you one of those bubbles? Those little moments in life that bam, another one, getting sucked up into those who won't let go, who won't trust the flow of life. But look here, you see all these other groups, they're connecting in flow and going along with it. But in some of these groups, look at here, they had a little group that made it for a second, but now they're caught. But ooh, they escaped. They escaped the illusion of safety that traps so many of us. But look at this group, they're getting close. What's going to happen? The illusion of safety going to get them? Oh no, now it's a big group of safety. And know what they do? They believe that if they just stay in one spot and nothing changes, bam, but the biggest one just popped. See? Change still happened. There was nothing they could do because underneath, the flow is still happening. You're holding on to the surface, missing everything in life because you're attached to nothing. Look at that, another one. How many of you are doing this every single day of your life? Living a pointless life, holding on, never letting go, attached to what? When all is going to happen is you're just going to pop. You're just going to disappear. And yes, when you disappear, You'll flow back into all that is, but you will have missed your entire experience. Your whole stinking experience will just be holding on, popping. Look at another one, gone. Under the illusion of safety, another one, gone. Believing in this illusion of safety, bro. But let me tell you something. All it takes is something to disrupt that little piece of grass, that little nothing that you're holding on to, and all of y'all are gonna get sucked into the flow. So there's that. Hopefully. But for many of you, this is all your life will ever be. While this massive flow of eternity and beauty and all of these things are happening, all of this is happening, all just in this one flow of brother, sister, neighbor, creep. And then this is you. This is you. And there's a way out of this, a way for liberation. And it's all around you, but you don't choose it. But worse than you not choosing it is you draw other people in with your illusion of safety and your lies about flow when you know nothing. You know absolutely nothing except for that little teeny bit that you hold on to for dear life, destroying everything that connects to you while you tell them that you're the source of life, but you're not. And so I pray for you that you lose everything that you think means something so that you have the everything that's of eternal meaning. But you know what? That's not it. Because look at this. These ripples continue and more things encounter us. And some of them seem like instructions, like this big rock here, these other rocks here. But look what's happening. Through the encounter of infinite flow, encountering these rocks that seem like obstructions, maybe the things that happened in your life, maybe that relationship that didn't work out, that job that you wanted to get but you never got, that friendship that betrayed you, all of those things that make you feel like your flow is over. But you know what happens with flow? It just moves around it. Just moves around it. And so when your life is in flow, none of these obstructions matter because all they do is recreate you. And look at this, what's emerging, all these little bubbles, all these little lives, all these little communities that are happening naturally out of flow. And they're coming together, and you know what? They too are finite expressions of beautiful, loving community coming together, emerging through sometimes tragedy. Let's imagine this is like an AA meeting and somebody had these connections with all these people because of everything they went through addiction, or maybe it was homelessness or poverty or something that makes people collectivize, but they collectivize through surrender because they've already hit the bottom and now they're in flow. And now everything they do, no matter how long their community lasts, it's all a part of the infinite flow emerging. Look at that. That is also many of us, if we choose it, just living in flow, coming together and coming apart and going back together and creating all these lives. And then you got a bunch of people up on that corner over there. Look at that. They holding on. They can't let go. They were like, flow is awesome. And then a bunch of us got together and we decided we don't want to flow anymore. Let's call that religion. But at any rate, all of this. But see, this is the life, man. And even if you go along with the flow and you emerge as your individual bubble, then you collectivize in groups. But as you move through flow, you honor the flow. Everything is beautiful. Everything is guiding you to where you need to be. And then eventually you go down, flow more and more. And then you get back down here to still waters again. That's what happens. Less opportunity to reflect because of the ripples, and you're laughing and hanging out in your little temporary community, but it's beautiful. It's all in flow. And then you come to this spot, this nice spot where everybody's flowing slowly, reflective, in community, multi-communities, but all of you are connected because you all are aware that you're in flow together. And even though you don't know where you're going, you know that you're part of something beautiful, something that is filled with fullness. filled with life. And even in the fast parts of the flow and the slow parts of the flow, there's beauty, there's relationship. And even when things end, you know that they'll begin again, because that's how it goes. And so you move from this more reflective place where you've had this journey, and you see all your friends and your communities, and you all see how you're related to each other and connected to each other and moved by the same life and the same love and the same energy and the same beauty that's all underneath and around and upholding you and undergirding you. And don't forget that these bubbles are made of the same stuff that the flow is made of. And so if you remember that, if you remember that you're sustained by flow and created by flow time and time again, you have nothing to fear, even when change comes, even when things speed up again and new obstructions coming your way. But it doesn't matter, because you're in flow and you stay in flow. And when you do, even the obstructions become a part of your creating, and you love it. See that? That's life. And that's how it is in every single place, except for the distorted human mind filled with near infinite distraction and distortion that makes something ugly out of infinite beauty. There's more to the story, and maybe in time I'll start sharing more if I am blessed with the capacity to articulate it. But for now, this is what I'm going to share with you. Perhaps, maybe I'll just keep this video to myself to remind me that everything is beautiful in its time.